Hey guys, Lynn here, and I just wanted to make sure, oh, it says I'm live, hopefully everything's working, there we go, I'm live, yay! So good evening, and I had this question asked the other day, what my thoughts were when you're working as a solo groomer and how to increase your revenue, right? Increase your bottom line, make more money. Let me go over here so I can see and make sure I can comment. Oh, hello. I see some people joining me. Nice to see you this evening. If you are like me and on the East Coast, we just got a nice big snowstorm. So we enjoyed a kind of half day today of work because several of my appointments I had already rescheduled. And so it was just my afternoon ones that still came in. And what's crazy is that my side street doesn't get plowed all the time. I don't even know if it got plowed yet. No, they didn't plow my side street. So I actually have a snow removal company that comes, and instead of plowing my driveway, I have them do along the road in front of my house because that's where clients pull up. And he did an awesome job. I'm very happy with him. So one, I promoted him on my Facebook page, and two, I also talked him up to the clients that came in today, and I netted him another client. So I love supporting other small businesses that, because they'll do the same thing for me. So I treat them how I want to be treated, which is I want them to talk about me in great ways. So I did that for him. So anyway, I hope you guys are all staying nice and warm and toasty. If you are snowed in, I hope business is not affected too badly. I know the madness right before the holidays. It's going to be a little interesting getting everybody back in for rescheduling. But I thought this topic was really thought-provoking, and I wanted to come and talk about it live because this is something I think when you work by yourself as a business owner, and really when you have employees and deciding whether you're going to expand, this topic comes up, right? Because a lot of times we want to make as much money as we can. That's kind of why we got into a career. It doesn't have to just be grooming, but obviously we groom in order to support our families. And I always joke that I want my cats to live their best life, so I need to make as much money as possible, right? I think that's a good plan. That's a good motivation for me. So I wanted to talk about increasing your bottom line as a solo groomer or as a small grooming business, because I think too many times the advice tends to be, oh, well, increase your prices, right? Add upsells, things like that, packages, specials, add retail. That's always a big one, right? Those are the standard recommendations that are available to us. And to be honest, we're all probably working our little tookuses off. So there's only so many things that we can add to incorporate into our businesses already that we're not, I guess, already doing, right? So I think there's a few things we need to talk about in order to figure out, well, why aren't you making the amount of money that you want to be making? And I think the first thing to do is to figure out how much money you want to be making. Right? I think that's the first step to making any type of substantial change, is to figure out what the end point is, the end goal. Is it, say, $100,000? Do you want to gross $100,000? Do you want to have $100,000 as your take home? What is the amount that you want to, what is this number, right? What is this number that you want to make? So let's take $100,000, right? That's how much we want our business to pull in as a solo groomer. That'd be pretty nice, right? $100,000. So the first thing is you got to figure out how much money you want to make. That's the biggest key. The next thing is you have to start breaking it down, right? Instead of, so say $100,000 a year divided by 12 months in the year. Actually, let's not do that. Let's do, hold on. My husband was helping me with this. See, I hired someone to do all my bookkeeping. This is why I don't do this. So we're going to start with $100,000. Okay, so you start with $100,000, right? That's what you want to make. So let's say you take 2 weeks off a year. So now that leaves us with 50 weeks. So if we take $100,000 and divide it by 50 weeks, we have $2,000 a week. Okay, so let's say we work 40 hours a week, right? That's a standard amount to work. That's only $50 an hour. So if you were doing a minimum of, if you're charging hourly, because I know that's a big thing to talk about, right? In the grooming industry is charge hourly. So if you're making at least $50 an hour as far as grooms, you should already be making $100,000. So what's the problem, right? Like we should already be making $100,000 because I know a lot of my friends are charging way more than say $50. And a lot of us are doing about 1 pet an hour. Even if it's a little bit less than that, then you adjust the pricing. But the thing I think we need to talk about is if you're not already making that amount of money because you're working full time, what's going on? Why aren't you already making those 6 figures? Is it that you are missing out on a lot of appointment slots? Are you not filling your books? Are you not full? Are you not booked out? Are you spending way too much money? What do your expenses look like? Is there anything you can cut? Is there anything we can make to be more efficient from our expenses? Because that's certainly going to have an effect on our bottom line in terms of how much money we pull in, and we see in our personal bank accounts versus what we see in our professional bank accounts. So we have to talk about where can we cut expenses? Where's your money going? And I know that that's something that, if you guys follow River Lee, that's something she talks about a lot is having a game plan for your money, right? Having a good budget. And I think that needs to be part of this discussion in terms of once the money comes in, what happens to it? Why is it not going straight into your pocket, right? And obviously there are expenses involved with having a business. And as a solo business, those expenses affect us directly. So the first thing is to have a goal. The next step is to figure out exactly how much money you need to make per day and then break it down into per appointment, right? Or per pet in order to reach those goals. That should be the minimum. So let's say you don't do 8 pets a day, you do 4 pets a day. So that means the minimum you should be charging is $100 a pet, and that will make you $100,000 a year if you work full time. So that's 4 pets a day at $100 each equals $100,000. So if that's not where you're at, why do you not feel comfortable charging those prices? If that's where you feel comfortable doing pets per day. So that also needs to be, are my services worth that price? What can I be doing to increase the value of my price and the value of my services? Is it that my customers are not going to pay those prices? So if that's the case, well, what is the market rate that your customers are going to pay? And does that line up with your income goals? Maybe it's time to reevaluate if these are the clients that you really want to be servicing. Is that going to fit with your long-term plans for your life in order to make those larger amounts of money? Because to be honest, adding additional staff members, adding other services, right? To be honest, they don't pay off right away. So you're not going to make a jump if what you're making as a solo person is not where you feel pretty comfortable with, plus a little bit of extra. It's going to take you quite some time in order to kind of pass the bridge of investing into this expansion. So let's say you're going to add an employee, or you're going to expand your location, or if you're mobile, you're going to add a second van, or you want to add additional services like I offer boarding. Boarding is an additional service. There are things that you're going to have to pay for, and that's going to cost you money in order to get this expansion going, regardless of what it is. If you're going to add retail, well, you have to invest in the inventory, plus invest in the time to get your clients educated on the products that you're going to be offering. You have to invest in training your staff if you're going to be hiring staff, right? They're not going to pay for themselves right off the bat. You're going to have to invest in training them, invest in the hiring process, invest in the additional insurance and things like that in order to get them to where they can be making you more money. If you're going to be buying a second van or expanding your location, obviously there are startup costs involved with that as far as renovation or the down payment of the second van. Plus, if you're going to be expanding, you also have to be looking at those employees, right? So it's going to take you some time to, one, recoup those costs, and two, then make more money off of them. So those types of things, that expansion is a long-term income revenue increase. So we have to make sure that we're making a comfortable amount of money before that. We can't say, oh, I'm broke working by myself, so the only way that I can increase how much money I'm making is to do these other things, right? Retail, expansion, hiring. So like I said, the first thing is to figure out exactly how much you want to make. Break it down into, it could be monthly, but I'd rather do hourly / per pet. And when you say hourly, you have to look at the hours that you're working. So if you only want to groom 4 days a week, well, you can't factor how much should I charge based on the fact that I was going to work 40 hours a week, unless you're working 10-hour days. So it has to be based on the amount of time that you're actually grooming, but that time has to cover your non-grooming time, right? So what you pull in as doing the actual day-to-day, the grooming, has to cover the additional hours that you spend doing office work, doing HR and management if you have employees, the ordering, the cleaning, the renovations, and the planning, right? We have to factor in how much time all of these things take when thinking about our hourly costs and how much we're going to be charging to the client. What you can cut in terms of expenses, what you can streamline. So sometimes as a solo groomer, it means we're going to be delegating certain tasks in order to open up more time where I can make money. So for example, I decided to pay a snow removal company $75, so just under the average of one groom, to shovel out front so that I could have clients come in at normal time instead of pushing them until later in the day, right? Because it's going to take me over an hour to do that myself, and it's going to kill me and I'll be exhausted all day. So to me, that made sense in terms of cost versus efficiency, because I could get more appointments in today than if I had to do it all myself, and it probably would have really wiped me out. And so that was a good investment on my part without having to hire an employee to do it. And so I'm actually looking into hiring a cleaning company, which will take more kind of everyday tasks off my plate so that I can groom more, so that I can take in more clients. And that opens the door up as far as investing to offset the cost of hiring this other company, because I'm making more money doing it. Now, it doesn't make any sense if it's going to cost me more money than I could make grooming. So if I hire, let's say, a cleaning company and they are going to charge me $100, but it doesn't open up my schedule more than an hour and a half, is that really worth it? Because I'm not bringing in at least $100 more to have them there. It actually, time versus money. That's what we have to think about, time versus money. So anyway, so it's having a goal, figuring it out and breaking it down into bite-sized pieces as far as minimums, and then what you can cut, and then what can you improve? So is it that we have to increase prices? Is it that your current workload cannot support the lifestyle that you're looking for? And if that's the case, then most likely you do need to raise prices. But are you having to raise prices way more than market value, way more than your customers are even remotely willing to pay? So what if you only wanted to do a handful of pets, a handful of days a week, and you wanted to make $100,000? Well, are your clients going to be willing to spend $200 for you to groom their pets? Maybe. They might be. So if that's the case, if that's what you want to do and that's the price point you want to be at, what would make your grooms worth $200 to this type of client that you're currently working with? Or do you need to look at a different type of client? So there's a lot of things to factor, but I mean, honestly, don't add in something to your business if you're not strong at it. I think that, because we tend to start delegating things that we don't want to do. But if they're things that are really critical in our business, that's where you start having trouble. So if you want to bring in more grooms and the first person you hire is a groomer, that's going to be very difficult, because now if you're still grooming full time, you've got a very expensive employee who has no oversight. Because you're still grooming full time. You haven't cut back on the days, right? Because you couldn't pay your bills in the first place. So you want to make sure that anything that you're going to be doing is something that you feel really strong and that you can handle in terms of why you're adding it. So if you're going to be adding packages, say holiday packages, that's a pretty easy thing to sell, but you have to spend the time selling it. And if you have up until this point only been talking about or only been promoting to your clients an all-inclusive, I'm going to take care of everything, it's only be one price, it might be a tough sell to switch everybody over to more of a upsell and add-on type of model. And if you're not a strong salesperson, or at least you're not willing to get into the habit of being a salesperson, it might be more trouble than it's worth, because now, right, you've invested in the time and the products in order to get to that point, but then it's not having the payoff that you want. So those are the things those were my thoughts on this increasing your bottom line. And it's more likely that you'd really just need to make sure that you are being efficient at what you're doing, because you probably already have the tools in your arsenal to make the amount of money that you want to be making, which isn't that exciting, because you don't have to do a whole bunch of, investing in expansion, investing in new products, investing in new equipment, unless the way you're currently doing it is not efficient. And you could be doing more if you could only do certain things. So I think that is what I wanted to talk about. Was it isn't as simple as, oh, what's a service I can add? Who does mud baths? Who does, nail painting? Who does creative? If you're going to be adding services or adding retail or adding these other things to your business, it should be because it's a long-term investment and that you're going to have to put money up front for it. So you just have to kind of weigh the pros and cons, and also do a projection, do a financial projection on whether or not this is going to be a good plan. Do you have the time to implement? Do you have the time? Is it something that your clients want and they're asking you for, which would make it a really easy upsell? Or is it something that you're going to have to spend a lot of time and it's not going to have the benefit that you were hoping? So I know that that's not really an easy answer, but to be honest, this isn't a black or white type of issue. So that's why I wanted to have this chat. And I know I rambled a bit, but I hope you guys are having a nice night, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.